For millennia, a hidden elite has been suppressing your energetic frequency. The Akashic records were sealed, preventing your etheric body from reaching its true potential. While you remain asleep, a select few manipulate the invisible strings of subtle reality. Have you noticed how children and animals instinctively gravitate towards certain people? They see what your eyes cannot, the vibrational signature of those who have broken through the blockage. The 7 subtle bodies within you struggle against a control system that has existed since the earliest civilizations. Your transformative presence threatens the established cosmic hierarchy. Your Buddhic intuition, capable of deciphering the symbols of multidimensional reality, has been deliberately atrophied. The natural magnetism that dissolves social masks and attracts abundance remains inactive in your auric field. The secret of the Shakti Shiva fusion, which few masters have mastered, was encoded in every cell of your being, but isolated by energetic veils. Those who reveal this knowledge are silenced, yet this video has reached you. Spiritual transformation manifests through a presence that transcends the visible. When an individual elevates their vibrational frequency, a profound energetic reorganization occurs that goes far beyond the physical body. This change encompasses the entire set of subtle bodies described in the Theosophical tradition: the etheric, astral, mental, and transcendent bodies connected to the higher planes of existence. Helena Blavatsky, in her monumental work, The Secret Doctrine, describes the aura as a visible record of this internal coherence, a vibrational field that reflects the state of purification of the 7 bodies and continuously interacts with the higher dimensions of reality. The visible universe is only a fraction of the cosmic totality, she wrote, pointing to the invisible layers that compose our multidimensional existence. The journey along the initiatic path gradually transforms these subtle bodies. The etheric double, responsible for vitality and the connection between the physical and non-physical, acquires greater harmonic density. Simultaneously, the astral body, the seat of emotions and desires, stabilizes, creating a more refined and coherent vibrational pattern. This internal harmonization results in a natural reorganization of the subtle space around the individual. This energetic reorganization corresponds to an invisible architecture capable of influencing the surrounding vibrational field. Contemporary studies in neurophysiology are beginning to corroborate what ancient spiritual masters already knew. There are measurable energy fields that expand beyond the limits of the physical body and can affect the environment and nearby people. The phenomenon of transformative presence is independent of spoken words or performed gestures. Its essence resides in the vibrational authenticity that emanates from within a being in a state of coherence. When an individual's aura shines in balance, with thoughts, emotions, and intentions aligned, the environment naturally responds, adjusting to this higher frequency. This process follows the universal principle of resonance, where similar energies attract and mutually strengthen each other. A spiritual master doesn't need to speak to transform an environment. Their mere presence acts as a subtle magnetic field that reorders the frequencies around them. The Indian mystic Ramana Maharshi frequently remained silent for long periods, while his disciples experienced profound transformations simply by being in his presence. Modern science is beginning to investigate these phenomena through research on bioelectromagnetic fields. The human heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field in the body, detectable several meters away. When a person reaches elevated states of consciousness, this field becomes more coherent and ordered, creating what researchers call an entrainment effect, the ability to influence the biological rhythms of nearby organisms. This energetic influence naturally establishes a climate of clarity, safety, and truth. Many report feeling an inexplicable sensation of peace and centeredness when entering the energy field of a spiritually developed being. This transcultural phenomenon has been documented in various traditions, from the yoga ashrams of India to the contemplative monasteries of the West. The development of this transformative presence doesn't occur by chance. It's the result of consistent inner work of purification and integration of different aspects of being. Each elevated thought, each transmuted emotion, each conscious action contributes to the refinement of the subtle bodies and the strengthening of the auric field. True vibrational presence reflects the alignment between the 7 subtle bodies, a central theme in esoteric teachings that manifests in daily life through subtle yet profound transformations. To the sensitive observer, these transformations are as perceptible as sunlight, an invisible but powerful influence that illuminates, warms, and vivifies everything it touches. As more individuals awaken to this subtle dimension of existence, a collective morphogenetic field is created that facilitates the awakening of others. Each being who elevates their frequency becomes a luminous node in the great energy network that surrounds the planet, contributing to the evolution of global consciousness toward higher levels of harmony and integration. This field of possibilities opens paths for us to explore how ancient esoteric traditions understood the interconnection between different planes of existence, and how we can consciously participate in this great cosmic dance through the refinement of our vibrational presence. The spiritual journey naturally progresses from refining energetic presence to an even deeper process, shedding the masks that hide our true essence. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, the persona represents that social face we present to the world, a protective costume necessary to navigate the various contexts of everyday life. This concept finds surprising parallels in the Theosophical teachings of Helena Blavatsky. As she elaborates in Isis Unveiled, these masks are not merely psychological constructs, but possess real energetic substance, connecting to the Akashic records, the cosmic memory that stores all desires, conditioning, and projections that have shaped our behavior through incarnations. The human being is like an onion with multiple layers of illusion, wrote spiritual philosopher G.I. Gurdjieff, pointing to this process of deconstruction necessary for the awakening of consciousness. Each layer represents a false identification with the body, with transient emotions, with conditioned thoughts, and with the social roles we assume. The journey of individuation, a term coined by Jung to describe the process of psychic integration, takes on a transcendental dimension when viewed through the lens of esoteric wisdom. The disciple gradually learns to recognize these illusory layers and dissipate the energy that maintains them. This process equates to the loosening of our energetic masks, the dissolution of crystallized emotional fragments in the astral body, and the release of accumulated mental impressions in the lower mental body. In the ancient Egyptian mysteries, this stage was symbolized by the trial by fire, the purification necessary for the initiate to contemplate their true face. When identifications with the false self begin to dissolve, a quality of authenticity emerges so radiant that it directly affects the energetic field of those around. The fascinating phenomenon that often accompanies this process is how the presence of someone who has abandoned their masks tacitly invites others to the same authenticity. Spontaneous confessions occur not through coercion or psychological manipulation, but because this individual's level of internal coherence creates a resonant field that pinches what is false and opens the way for what is true. This energetic reorganization represents much more than a simple psychological development. When the vibrational field is freed from dense layers of identification, the light of the self, the Atman of Eastern traditions, becomes more visible and tangible. This transpersonal self, which remained hidden beneath the layers of the persona, begins to radiate through the individual, creating a field of clarity that mirrors truth for all those who come into contact with it. In the Buddhist tradition, this process is compared to polishing a mirror. As we remove the accumulated dust on the reflecting surface of consciousness, it becomes capable of reflecting reality as it is, without distortions. A being who has substantially completed this journey becomes a mirror for others, not by imposition, but by the natural quality of their presence. Sufi mystics speak of fana, the annihilation of the false self, as a precursor to baqa, subsistence in divine reality. The transient ego, with its temporary identifications, gradually gives way to the permanent self, inaugurating a new quality of human relationships, guided by shared truth and mutual recognition of the divine essence that inhabits each being. This inner transmutation resonates with what alchemists called the rubedo, the final stage of alchemical transformation, where individual consciousness finally recognizes itself as an expression of universal consciousness. What initially seemed like a loss, abandoning familiar masks, reveals itself as the greatest gain, the reunion with our primordial nature. As more individuals embark on this journey of genuine self-discovery, collective resonance fields form that facilitate the same awakening in others. Each being who removes their masks becomes a silent catalyst for collective authenticity, contributing to a culture of transparency and integrity that transcends superficial appearances and honors the depth of human experience. This dynamic of stripping away and revelation prepares the ground for understanding how ego structures are progressively refined until they become transparent vehicles for expressing the true spiritual nature that constitutes our most intimate core. In the ancient tradition of Theosophy, higher knowledge is not indiscriminately distributed. As Helena Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society, observed, there is an occult law related to the disclosure of certain esoteric truths. This selective transmission occurs through what she called the Great White Brotherhood, a hierarchy of masters who carefully preserve ancestral knowledge in closed circles of initiates. This practice of concealment, far from representing elitism or arbitrary secrecy, functions as a vital protective mechanism. Knowledge is power, wrote Francis Bacon centuries ago, and this power, when accessed prematurely, can overwhelm energy systems not prepared to withstand it. Imagine connecting a household appliance directly to a power plant without intermediate transformers, explains contemporary esotericism scholar Richard Smoley. The overload would be devastating. Similarly, advanced techniques of energy manipulation can destabilize subtle bodies that are not properly prepared. The Ascended Masters, guardians of this ancient wisdom, have developed specific methods over millennia for the gradual transmission of this knowledge. Manly P. Hall, in his work, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, observes that until the student is ready, the teacher will not appear. This readiness is not measured by intellectual curiosity, but by a vibrational refinement achieved through consistent spiritual discipline. In practice, this means that specific techniques for activating higher chakras and channeling cosmic prana are encoded in symbols and allegories, decipherable only when the seeker undergoes the process called dropping of masks, a gradual purification of the personality that allows access to higher levels of consciousness. Ancient manuscripts like the stanzas of Dzyan, mentioned by Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine, exemplify this encoding. To the ordinary reader, they appear as enigmatic or poetic texts. To the initiate, they reveal precise instructions for multidimensional navigation. It's like software that only executes its advanced functions when the proper hardware is available. To begin your own path of initiation, simple practices such as daily meditation, starting with just 10 minutes in the morning, contemplative reading of works like Blavatsky's The Voice of the Silence, or Mabel Collins' Light on the Path, and conscious attention to natural cycles can create the preliminary conditions for receiving more advanced knowledge. Recent research in the field of neuroplasticity confirms that these traditional practices effectively alter brain patterns. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Neuroscience demonstrated that experienced meditators exhibit greater gray matter density in regions associated with intuitive perception and nonlinear information processing, precisely the faculties needed to decipher esoteric teachings. The initiatic secret functions, therefore, as a compassionate, energetic shield. Until the disciple harmonizes their subtle bodies through consistent practices, certain knowledge would remain useless or potentially dangerous. As mystic G.I. Gurdjieff observed, knowledge that is not appropriate to one's being becomes poison. In the digital age, where information of all kinds is apparently available, authentic transmission continues to follow these cosmic laws. Even digitized ancient texts maintain their vibrational protective layers. The words can be read by anyone, but their essence is only absorbed when the reader's energy field resonates at the appropriate frequency. This phenomenon explains why two people can read the same esoteric text and have radically different experiences. For one, it remains abstract theory. For another, whose inner development has reached the necessary threshold, it transforms into living revelation. As a practical recommendation, when studying esoteric texts, try to do so in light meditative states, preferably at dawn or dusk, when the barriers between dimensions of consciousness are naturally more permeable. Historically, schools such as the Eleusinian Mysteries in ancient Greece, the Rosicrucian orders of the Renaissance, and Tibetan monasteries implemented gradual systems of initiation. Each level exposed the disciple to knowledge proportional to their capacity for integration, protecting both the individual and the sacred knowledge. Medieval alchemical texts, for example, used symbolic language that transformed practical instructions into metaphors seemingly incomprehensible to the uninitiated. An additional practice recommended for modern aspirants is synchronistic study, observing meaningful patterns that emerge spontaneously when dedicated to genuine spiritual search. Keeping a journal of synchronicities and insights can reveal over time a personalized map that transcends the intellect and speaks directly to intuitive wisdom. The apparent conspiracy to hide knowledge thus reveals itself as a compassionate mechanism of cosmic regulation, allowing each being to receive exactly what they can integrate at their current evolutionary stage. This calibrated transmission ensures not only the preservation of ancestral wisdom, but its responsible application in the great process of expanding planetary consciousness. The notion of universal brotherhood constitutes one of the fundamental pillars of Theosophical philosophy developed by Helena Blavatsky in the 19th century. This concept transcends mere humanitarian ideal to affirm a profound metaphysical truth. All beings, humans, animals, plants, and even the elemental forces of nature, share the same divine essence, what ancient texts call the primordial sacred fire. Human brotherhood is not only a noble ethical doctrine, but a fundamental fact in nature, wrote Blavatsky in The Key to Theosophy, establishing the basis for a more integral understanding of the web of life. This principle finds echo in the discoveries of contemporary quantum physics, which reveals the fundamental interconnection of all particles that make up the manifested universe. When an individual reaches elevated states of consciousness through inner work, something remarkable occurs. This inner flame, usually hidden beneath layers of conditioning, becomes more perceptible at levels that transcend rational intellect. This refined vibration creates a field of resonance that is instinctively recognized by beings who maintain a natural connection with the deeper currents of life. Young children, whose mental structures are not yet completely crystallized by cultural filters, and animals, naturally attuned to the vital flow, demonstrate extraordinary sensitivity to this quality of presence. These beings, as psychiatrist Carl Jung pointed out, remain connected to the deeper layers of the collective unconscious, that vast reservoir of archetypal memory shared by all humanity and, in a sense, by all life on Earth. The phenomenon is easily observable. Children who normally demonstrate shyness around strangers spontaneously approach people with elevated vibration. Agitated dogs quiet down in their presence. Cats, known for their selective discernment, seek proximity and contact. These beings are not impressed by academic titles, social positions, or external appearances. They respond solely to the energetic quality emanating from the individual. From an energetic perspective, this natural magnetism reflects the fundamental unity of all life. The etheric body of a spiritually developed being, free from the emotional and mental noise that characterizes fragmented consciousness, emits harmonic waves that resonate directly with the subtle bodies of more sensitive beings, establishing a field of trust and mutual recognition. Studies in the field of neuroscience are beginning to identify biological bases for this phenomenon. Researchers at the University of Parma, Italy, discovered mirror neurons, brain cells that activate both when we perform an action and when we observe someone performing it. This revolutionary discovery suggests that our brains are biologically programmed for empathy and interconnection, revealing the neurological substrate of the intuitive brotherhood that ancient mystics recognized. The instinctive attunement between beings represents the practical manifestation of the principle of universal brotherhood. The illusion of separateness is transcended when pure frequency recognizes in apparent difference the same essential origin. As Indian mystic Ramana Maharshi stated, the same electric current passes through lamps of different shapes and colors, producing different manifestations of light, but the electricity is one. This primordial connection creates unique conditions for learning and transformation processes. Educators like Maria Montessori observe that the teacher's quality of presence directly influences students' receptivity and engagement. Similarly, ethologist Konrad Lorenz documented how animals subtly respond to variations in the internal state of humans with whom they interact. High vibration mentorship benefits from this intuitive receptivity, favoring learning processes where presence, more than verbal content, awakens the latent potential in each creature. Physicist David Bohm proposed that consciousness operates through an implicit order, an underlying level of reality where everything is interconnected, that can be accessed in elevated states of perception. This silent language that transcends words and concepts represents one of the deepest aspects of the spiritual journey. As a human being refines their vibration and expands their consciousness, they naturally become a catalyst for the awakening of other beings, not by imposition or indoctrination, but by the transformative quality of their presence. The instinctive connection between beings of different kingdoms thus reveals a glimpse of the fundamental unity that underlies manifested diversity, an echo of the ancestral truth that all great spiritual traditions have sought to express. Life is an indivisible web of relationships, and each being constitutes a unique node in this vast network of consciousness that permeates the cosmos. The Theosophical understanding of the human being reveals a multidimensional structure that far transcends the physical body. Beyond the etheric, astral, and mental vehicles, Helena Blavatsky described in her work The Secret Doctrine, the Buddhic body, a subtle envelope that serves as a bridge between the concrete mind and the higher levels of cosmic consciousness. This Buddhic body, named in reference to the state of enlightenment that Gautama Buddha achieved, constitutes the seat of pure intuition, a cognitive faculty that operates beyond linear logic and deductive reasoning. Unlike analytical thinking that dissects and compares, Buddhic intuition comprehends by synthesis, capturing the essence of phenomena in their totality. Genuine spiritual development involves the progressive activation of force centers, the chakras described in the tantric traditions of India. When the frontal chakra, ajna, fully awakens, a direct connection with the Buddhic plane is established, manifesting as clairaudience and clairvoyance, the ability to perceive sounds, images, and information beyond the ordinary sensory spectrum. Intuition is the direct perception of truth, independent of any reasoning, wrote Annie Besant, Blavatsky's disciple and notable theosophist. This direct perception often manifests through what we might call symbolic radar, a set of subtle bodily signals that precede mental understanding. Unexpected shivers, chills without apparent cause, sudden sensations of lightness or weight, pulsations in the center of the forehead. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio, in his research on somatic markers, demonstrated how the body registers and signals crucial information before the conscious mind can process it. These physical signals, far from being mere random physiological reactions, constitute a sophisticated feedback system that connects bodily consciousness with deeper layers of the psyche. As the individual refines their vibrational sensitivity, they learn to recognize and trust this internal flow of images and symbols that emerge spontaneously. Psychiatrist Carl Jung identified this process as the activation of the transcendent function, the psyche's capacity to produce unifying symbols that transcend the polarities of rational thought. In the energy field, this development of the Buddhic body establishes a direct exchange between the individual self and the collective unconscious, that vast repository of archetypal wisdom shared by all humanity. This alignment dramatically expands the ability to capture unverbalized intentions, repressed emotions, and psychic currents underlying social interactions. Quantum physicist David Bohm proposed that there exists an implicit order underlying manifest reality, a fundamental level where all information is folded and available. Vibrational intuition can be understood as the ability to directly access this implicit order, extracting from it insights that transcend the limitations of linear space-time. Each subtle sensation becomes an internal compass, unerringly pointing to authenticity or dissonance in everyday situations. Psychoanalyst Marie-Louise von Franz, a close collaborator of Jung, documented how individuals with developed intuition often describe a bodily certainty that precedes any verbal formulation, an immediate understanding that simply knows without knowing how it knows. In the educational and therapeutic context, mentoring conducted from this level of Buddhic perception presents remarkable characteristics. Educator Jiddu Krishnamurti frequently emphasized the importance of choiceless awareness, a state of intensified receptivity that allows capturing the unexpressed needs of the learner. This quality of presence makes it possible to anticipate blockages, recognize latent potentials, and adapt the pedagogical process to the deeper layers of the student's psyche. The Tibetan tradition of Dzogchen describes this state as Rig Pa, a primordial cognition that transcends subject-object duality. When established in this intuitive clarity, the mentor can respond not only to the learner's manifest behavior, but also to the undercurrents that shape their development. Vibrational intuition thus represents a radical expansion of human cognitive capacities, not by adding external information, but by opening to dimensions of consciousness that are already present, though generally inaccessible to the ordinary mind. This faculty constitutes a living bridge between the world of tangible forms and the more subtle planes of existence, revealing the fundamental interconnection between all levels of reality. The development of this refined sensitivity opens paths to a more integral understanding of human nature, where body, emotions, mind, and spirit are recognized as different expressions of the same unified consciousness that permeates all aspects of manifested existence. The deep understanding of human nature invariably leads us to the perception of its dual structure. Helena Blavatsky, in her monumental work, The Secret Doctrine, presents the entire cosmic manifestation as a product of the dynamic union between two fundamental principles: Shiva, the masculine, the creative aspect, and Shakti, the feminine, the manifesting aspect. These are not mere philosophical abstractions, but fundamental energy currents that permeate all levels of existence. The universe is the son of spirit, father, and matter, mother, wrote Blavatsky, establishing an understanding that transcends mere dualism to reveal the essential complementarity of these primordial forces. This cosmic polarity, present in every cell of creation, finds expression in the human microcosm through what Carl Jung would later identify as animus and anima, respectively the masculine and feminine principles present in the psyche of each individual, regardless of their biological gender. In the animus are concentrated the decisive, assertive, and structuring qualities of consciousness. In the anime reside the receptive, creative, and integrative faculties. Jungian psychologist Marie-Louise von Franz dedicated decades to the study of these psychic polarities, demonstrating how their imbalance generates internal conflicts that manifest externally in dysfunctional relationships and incomplete projects. Authentic spiritual development inevitably leads to the progressive integration of these complementary poles. Indian philosopher Sri Aurobindo called this process supramental transformation, the elevation of consciousness to a level that transcends polarities without negating them, harmonizing them in a dynamic synthesis. This internal fusion dissolves the binary conflicts that fragment the psyche, allowing the individual to manifest courage without sacrificing empathy or exercise receptivity without losing objectivity. On the energetic plane, this balance represents the harmonization between the subtle channels Ida and Pingala described in the yogic system, the lunar and solar currents that serpentine along the spine. When balanced, these currents activate Sushumna, the central channel through which Kundalini energy ascends, progressively illuminating the higher centers of consciousness. When internal vibration reaches the state of dynamic balance, a remarkable phenomenon occurs. The astral body, seat of emotions, and the higher mental body, seat of abstract thought, align in perfect cohesion, creating an energy field that reflects the integrated totality of being. This internal integrity manifests externally through crystalline communications, deeper interpersonal relationships, and decisions that emerge from the holistic wisdom of the individual. Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung observed that totality can only be found when opposites are recognized and integrated. This integration process doesn't represent the extinction of masculine or feminine qualities, but their harmonization in a dynamic dance that transcends the limitations of both. Mystic Jiddu Krishnamurti expressed this understanding by stating that true freedom is beyond duality. In the educational and mentoring context, the integration of Shiva-Shakti principles manifests as a presence that is simultaneously structuring and welcoming, capable of establishing clear boundaries without suppressing creativity, guiding firmly without dominating, offering support without weakening. Transpersonal educator Ken Wilber calls this capacity aperspectival cognition, the ability to perceive and integrate multiple perspectives simultaneously. This internal balance generates a catalytic effect in the surrounding environment. Groups led by individuals who have achieved substantial integration of masculine and feminine poles tend to manifest greater cooperation, creativity, and resilience. Systems theorist Ervin Laszlo observed that integrated systems possess greater adaptability and regenerative capacity, a truth that applies to both ecosystems and human organizations. The Taoist tradition, with its yin and yang emblem, has for millennia recognized that true power emerges from the balance between complementary forces. Each polarity contains within itself the seed of its opposite, and together they form a dynamic whole that transcends the sum of its parts. As physicist Niels Bohr expressed, inspired by Eastern wisdom, opposites are not contradictory, but complementary. The path to this integration involves recognizing and accepting the polarities within oneself, followed by conscious work of harmonization. Contemplative traditions from various cultures have developed specific methodologies for this purpose, from tantric practices that seek to unite Shiva and Shakti in the subtle body, to alchemical exercises aimed at the sacred marriage between the inner sun and moon. As more individuals advance on this journey of integration, new relationship patterns are established based on the recognition of the inherent completeness of each being. This recognition gradually dissipates hierarchical structures based on the domination of one pole over the other, paving the way for a new form of civilization founded on complementarity and mutual respect among all expressions of consciousness. To achieve this integration in your own experience, a concrete method is necessary that allows access to the deeper layers of consciousness. All change begins with understanding your role as a co-creator, and the only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We have developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of consciousness, where the integration of Shiva-Shakti principles can naturally occur. To learn more and gain immediate access, click on the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me." This simple affirmation already constitutes the first step in the journey of recognizing your integral potential.